Hello and welcome everyone to my Skating Monk Magnificent Vaygah.com podcast Halloween special. And since I am the resident motherfucker of horror in this faux hizzle, I will be hosting the horror podcast for you. We do have Vaygah and Namor, our hostess and host. Man thing, yeah, that's cool. He kills bears with his penis. I don't know what to defer to him as. But yeah, anywho, they're listening in, but they're not going to be partaking. But who will be partaking is Deagleson,
Hell yeah.
DK,
No.
and my sexy man-slave Kenny Kawhi.
Why are you always biased towards me?
Because I love you. I mean, what? What?
I
Anyway,
love you too, but
moving on with the yay. Anyway, moving on to the topics at hand. We're gonna say, what is your biggest scare, guys, in a game? Like the most terrifying of scares, the ones that you've defecated all over the room or just screamed like a motherfucker.
Silent Hill.
well, I got one. I don't really play scary games. I don't even know what I'm doing here. But the one game that really scared me is those zombies from the Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Holy shit, those scare me.
Ah, the Redeads.
When they do that little scream.
Yeah, that scream.
The Redeads did terrify me as a kid. I remember playing. I remember being like having to stand outside the well for a good like hour before I summoned up the courage to go in. And unfortunately, I've not gained much courage when it comes to scary stuff since then. What about you, Kenny? What is the scariest thing you've ever, or the biggest scare you've ever had in a game?
The scariest experience I've had in a video game is probably finding out that Silent Hill Downpour is actually pretty good. That is scary.
In-game scare, you clever motherfucker, you.
Well, I don't know. You know me to be a pretty badass when it comes to horror games.
True, that's why I'm always interested in your response, because most of the videos we've done together, I've always been running around screaming like a bitch, where yeah, you've been just like, shut up, calm down.
Oh, I've had an extremely strange case of video gaming. I mean, when I was younger, playing games like Kingdom Hearts and Oddworld Abe's Odyssey would scare me, and then a couple of years later, I was just playing Resident Evil on my own in the dark in Silent Hill, and I don't know what the hell happened to me.
You grew.
Fair play. I remember some genuinely good scares, like, throughout, because I've been playing horror games, I've always had a fascination with horror and the macabre and all that. And I remember my two biggest scares to be Silent Hill 3 when I was playing it as a kid, and there's a room full of mannequins, and you walk in, and there's one mannequin that's sort of looking at you from down a row of mannequins, and you walk round, and you hear a scream when you walk round the corner and the mannequin's out of sight, and then you run back round the corner and its head's been cut off and there's blood going down it. And I remember just sat there sort of paused in fear, like, oh shit, no.
That is one of my favourite scenes in any horror game ever, just that mannequin scene from Silent Hill 3.
It was really fucking creepy. Another good scare of mine was from the game Underhell, because that's a mod, but that is a very, 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 very good mod. And the bathroom scare, and to be honest, I was going to say the attic one because there's actually a video of me on the attic scare, and it made me kick back and scream louder than I've probably ever screamed or shouted in any fucking scare. But it's basically you crawl up into the attic and she runs on all fours and just like gets in your face, and it is absolutely terrifying. Does anybody actually have any other like proper scary moments in a game or anything like that? DK, I've not heard much from you.
Well, overall, like I said, I was a little bit younger, but the Silent Hill 2, I don't know what it is about that game, but when I first played that game, scared the holy hell out of me. Just the whole game in its entirety. And also, what we played the other day, it may not really seem like it, but Survivors gave me a little bit of a jolt.
fucking survivors. That wolf scared the shit out of me. It's just because it's so loud. I think that's more of a cheap scare. Like, I like to think that there are two sorts of scares in a video game. There's the cheap sort of scare, and then there's the dread sort of scare where you're sort of sat there going, oh no, what's going to happen? 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 Rather than there's just sort of a boogie woogie woo, and then that's sort of the end of the scare. Do any particular scenes from Silent Hill stick out for you? I mean, besides the Pyramid Head lovely rape scene.
Seems
That's the
Scenes.
one that. No, that's the first one that pops in my head. It's the Pyramid Head.
He was a fucking creepy ass motherfucker. Um, I always liked Silent Hill. I was scared of them as a kid, but now I look back and I think I approach it from a different perspective. I like to just like psychologically analyze everything, like because all of them have like a deep sort of meaning to them, and I've been sort of scared of it since. I've been more fascinated by it than anything else.
that's the same with me. I've spent so much time just looking on Silent Hill Wiki, looking at the iconography and symbolism behind each of the monsters and locations, and oh my god, it's so good.
You're a cool kid like me then, Kenny, looking up like the psychological meaning behind everything. So what I liked about Shattered Memories like the fact that it analysed you and then it interpreted the monsters based on what you were afraid of, and the monsters were like a break off of your own psyche. Because my friend basically got his looked really feminine, and that was supposed to deal with his like because the game picked up on the fact that he had relationship issues, and mine looked like cogs, and they looked like cogs because it was supposed to symbolize that I found like solace in logic and things making sense. And I think when games get to that level, that's when they truly start to scare you because they're sort of when a game understands you, then that's and understands that it knows you're afraid. I think that's when you get the best scares in video games. Okay, while we're on that topic of conversation then, what type of horror games are most effective in scaring people?
The
Psychological.
Yeah, the psychological ones that really like fuck with your mind. Definitely.
I honestly couldn't agree more with that. Psychological is the best one. Like I said, like I was just saying before, like once a game starts to understand what's making you scared and play on it, then that's the best type of horror. And the best type of horror, I mean, the problem with that, I've always have had a love for sort of Asian horror movies because they know how to do horror. I think it's just more the American sort of stuff. Like a good example of two different horror games, which are still classed as horror games, is Dead Space and let's say Amnesia. So Dead Space, you've got the
Dead
monsters
Space
that
feels
come out
like an
of
action
everywhere.
game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It feels like an action game. It has its moments where it's quite creepy, and sometimes something jumps out and terrifies you, or you have to run away from something, and it does sort of excite you a little bit, and that's quite good. It works that way. But Amnesia's sort of like it's the slow, it's the build up. It's like it doesn't even have to show you a monster for the first like hour, and when it does, it's fucking terrifying because you realize at the point where the monster comes round that you're utterly powerless, and the only thing really you can do is try and distract it and get away from it. And I think that it's most effective in games where you're powerless as opposed to games where you're taunting high-powered weaponry blasting through everything. What do you think about horror games? Like, I know you said you haven't played that many, but I mean, like, have you actually given any horror games a shot, Deagleson?
Yeah, I've been playing. No, I don't know the first Resident Evil games. I don't know if you can classify them as true horror games.
Gosh,
It's more like yeah, survivor horror rather than like psychological. I really like the first one. I actually rebought it for the Nintendo DS when they made that Deadly
Deadly.
whatever they call it, but it was really good.
A game that.
And
Go ahead, Eagleson.
mm, what else? I don't even know what it's called. It was on Silent Hill on the PlayStation 2. I mean, I don't really play horror games.
A game that really fucked with my mind, and it's pretty. I mean, it's a pretty underrated game, and you may have not played it before, Peter, because it's for GameCube. But when I first played it, it just kind of really fucked with me a little bit was Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Work Way.
I actually am a massive fan of Eternal Darkness, where it said it was like the proper sort of breaking the fourth wall, like fucking with you, like turning the volume down and like saying it's deleting all of your saves on your memory card. I thought that was very, very clever. I quite like that.
Yeah, it's like I was going through this hallway, and then my sanity meter was increasing, and all of a sudden like the blue screen of death pops up, and it was like I'm just like staring at the game like, what the fuck is going on?
That's one of the things, a good example of breaking the fourth wall and stuff like that is I quite liked it when it did it on Arkham Asylum when you first fought the Scarecrow and it made you think the TV was fucking up. That was very, very clever. I like it when games do that. I think horror games would be a lot better if they started involving the player, like, you know, doing things to freak out the actual player themselves as opposed to the character. I mean, it's good to have the story of the character and everything like that, but I mean, like, if you want to put a distressing atmosphere, um, then the best thing to do is actually involve the player. So I probably like sort of on my list of horror games and good ones that Shattered Memories, like for the Silent Hill one, which I'll probably go through a lot because that was probably one of the best games that I label as a good horror game for the fact that it involves the player. The whole game is structured on your insecurities and your fears and stuff like that, and stuff that makes you feel uncomfortable. There was plenty of opportunities where the game had read me like a book and it had put me in situations that it knew was going to make me feel uncomfortable. Like a good example of it is the main love interest of the game is basically structured on what the game believes your ideal woman would be like, which is really, really, really deep, but very, very clever because for me it hit it spot on. I had a really angry girl that shouted a lot and told me she wanted to fuck me all the time.
Was it
Yeah,
me?
it was you, Kenny. It looked a lot like you. And it was like, we should do Let's Plays together. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
And of course, the more popular of the scary, creepy shit your pants games right now is of course Slenderman.
I think Slenderman is selling out. I don't. I think Slenderman's been ruined. I mean, I still get creeped out by playing the games. I don't. I think it's just I don't like being chased on horror games. That's why I always get a jump out of amnesia because I hate the part where I can be being chased by something. So the fact that I'm being chased by Slenderman sort of freaks me out, but it's the fact that it's been done to death and he's been in so many joke videos and he's even got his own musical and it's just like, come on. I mean, I liked Slenderman when he was
That's
just
just
like,
wrong.
yeah, I know. I liked him when he was just like a creepypasta story and Marble Hornet series, Marble Hornet series. I've had a few sort of paranoid nights where I've been like, it's really scary, and I don't want to go downstairs and get a glass of water. But I think, yeah, Slenderman's definitely selling out on the horror genre. What do you have an opinion on Slenderman, Kenny?
I liked Slenderman before it was cool to like Slenderman. But yeah, I pretty much agree with you.
Hipster
I
kid.
mean, um, Slenderman's just blown up so much recently because of the Marble Hornets and then the game, and now everyone's talking about it. Even people who aren't into, that sort of horror aspect of video games or even just general media. And it's just like, why? Why do you like him?
I think it is butchering the sort of horror like genre because I think like a lot of people just like don't really understand it. Like, it sounds fairly arrogant to say, like, they don't understand, but, like, they really don't. And I think it's kind of ruining horror in a sense. Like, I feel like a lot of the stuff that I like, especially when I see, like, people doing silly Slender videos and stuff like that, it's sort of ruining a character in a sense. Well, maybe I just get too personally involved with horror. Like, it is my sort of favourite genre of anything. It's the only sort of series of games that involves me emotionally, like, because I quite like the game that can get me so immersed that I'm terrified and I don't want to continue playing it because I'm too scared to play it.
What
Well,
about that
that's
one you were
always
playing?
been.
What about that one you were playing on your live? What was it called, like SG Containment or something like that?
Oh, SCP Containment Breach. That is SCP hasn't been done to death actually, which is strange. It's had a bit of an increase in popularity. People have been making games about it. It is a very scary game, especially when you start getting into the other SCPs besides 087B. No, wait, not 087B. 087B is the stairs. It's 167 or something like that.
173.
173. Yep. The fucking statue. That is quite creepy in itself. Like, it's terrifying just to walk around the corner and then, like, you blink and he's just there right in front of you. It's fucking horrible. But yeah, SCP is still very, very scary, and you know, the reading like the articles about some of the monsters is good nightmare fuel. But actually, speaking of SCP, since it was the first game I ever fear quit in a Let's Play, have any of us ever quit a game because it was too scary?
No.
I have not, but I want to be honest. I almost quit Silent Hill 2, but I did not.
Am I the only person that's ever fear quit a game?
Yes.
I turned off the Ocarina of Time game. Does that
Oh,
count?
finally, I'm not alone. No, if it was from Redeads, then I guess I can understand. Or what are the other things? The things like the dungeon, the weird hand things, they're creepy. I don't like them.
Oh yeah,
The wall
when you're
master?
going to get like the mirror that you can see hidden object. The first time I
Yeah,
went
oh.
inside there and that hand grabbed me, I was like, oh shit!
They call
They
wall
were quite
master.
Oh, that was
creepy.
scary.
To be fair, I remember the Redead scaring me so much. You know, on like the Majora's Mask, where you have to sneak into the girl's house and like her dad's a Redead.
Oh,
I must
speaking
have
of
had
It,
about five. I must have had about 5 goes of stabbing her dad because I didn't want. I was too afraid of the Redead, and I just panicked when I was a kid when I saw it. And I was like, "Kill it! Kill it! Kill it!"
kill it with
Speaking of
fire.
Majora's,
Burn it with fire. Cleanse it. Until I realised I had to play the Song of Healing. It's just sort of embarrassing after 5 attempts of murder.
speaking of Majora's Mask, it's my personal favorite Zelda game. But the very first time I played the game, that freaking moon scared the shit out of me for a little while.
The moon is quite creepy. I remember it's a very, very dark game. Like, I like the whole like denial thing it's got going on. Like, all the areas are representations of the stages of grief and getting over it. Like the clock tower town, whatever it is. Clock tower town? No, that's not right. The town
It's
is
Clock Tower.
basically
You're right.
denial. How is it? The town basically is denial because they are denying the fact that the moon's going to fall on them. Then it's anger, which is the Deku shrubs, because they want to blame all their problems on this monkey and execute him. The second one is like the Gorons is bargaining, like because they're all like bargaining with anything, like, and believing that their hero's going to come and save them when he's dead. And the Zoras is depression, which is basically like because the lead singer died and the eggs got stolen, everyone's too depressed to do anything. And then like there's acceptance, which is the final stage, because it's like supposed to be everyone's dead, so the only thing you have left to do is accept what's happened, and it's meant to be about Link getting over Navi or something like that. I can't remember, it's been a while since I've played Majora's Mask, but I remember that was the underlying theme to it, which I thought was quite cleverly written. But so I'm the only person that's ever had to fear quit from a game. I suppose I should, since I'm the only person that's done it, I should probably give examples of when I've had to fear quit from games then.
Remember Deagleson said he shut off Ocarina of Time because of the read it.
Yeah, well, I thought we were covering the Redeads. But yeah, which part were you at when you fear quit on the Redeads? Was it going into the well, or?
No, it was when you go to the graveyard and you play the song to get like the lightning bolt to like shoot down, and you go inside there.
Oh yeah. I remember changing into Big Link and then going straight into the town centre and then running back to the Temple of Time because I was like, "Oh fuck, zombies, no! Get out of here!" The 2 times I've ever fear quit from a game was from Under Hell and SCP. First time I ever played SCP because I had it as a recommendation. I got to a point where my heart was hurting, like my heart was bumping out of my chest, and I had to just say like I can't handle this anymore. It's too fucking much. It was too much stress on me. And then the second time was on Underhill, and I picked up the phone, and the woman shrieked, like the dead woman that stalks you throughout the house, just shrieked, and all the windows smashed, and I just hit escape and quit because I couldn't fucking handle it. I'm such a fucking wuss now that I'm talking about all this. Okay, very well. We've covered the other topics, so let's get on to the final topic. I may add another one in just to, drag out some time because I'm quite enjoying this conversation. It's all suiting for Halloween. Have any of us ever had nightmares because of a horror game?
No, I've had nightmares because of Oddworld Abe's Odyssey and Kingdom Hearts.
Have you had nightmares about Kingdom Hearts?
Because I was 5, and the Organization 13 scared me.
I've had a nightmare about Pyramid Head.
I believe that's called a sexual fantasy, not a nightmare.
I was about to say, if you're going to have a dream about Pyramid Head, he's going to be doing you up the arse. There's no other way around that.
No, I don't remember what the dream was about. I just remember Pyramid Head was in the dream. And it was like chasing me around like this dark house or something. That's about really all I remember.
I've had a lot of nightmares about. I actually had two about Slender Man, and I had a couple of nightmares about Silent Hill. Um, but the most I've ever had is like a Ring style, like Fear style, Alma style sort of grudge bitch. Like they're I think they're the one things that creep me out the most, and I've had so many nightmares about those sort of like evil creature things that I've just been like, I think I'm just traumatized by seeing spooky women in video games now. And it's always the spooky women, like if it's on fucking Nightmare House or like The Grudge or fucking everything or Fear. Um, I just thought I'd share with you as well, since I've just seen Vaygah put some input on the chat, that she also says that she's had nightmares from watching The Walking Dead and having loads of freaky zombie dreams. My freaky zombie dreams usually, like, I'm usually sort of like some sort of Tallahassee figure, and I'm just going around murdering zombies for the fun of it. I think I've been completely desensitized to zombies. Zombies do not scare me in the slightest. Like, there's probably a bit of panic if one catches me without like a sort of weapon or anything like that. I can imagine one sort of making me panic, but not really scaring me. I've seen so many zombies and so many zombies killed over my teenage years of watching movies that I've just been completely desensitized to them. Anybody else got that feeling with zombies? Apart from obviously the spooky Zelda ones, but actual zombies, they're not scary anymore, are they, guys?
I feel the same. It's kind of like what
They're never
happened
scary.
with Slender Man, because people have just been exposed to it so much, and it's been parodied that much times that it's not even scary anymore.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many zombie games out right now. Yeah, the market's completely saturated, and it's, yeah, it's not even, I mean, there's not even anything they can really do that's with anything unique with zombies anymore. It's just basically a lot of the things that they do coming out with is basically almost the same thing. It's just like, hey, let's go kill zombies. Kill the zombie. It's not even really unique anymore or clever.
Well, I don't know, if a game that's supposed to have zombies in it but doesn't have zombies in it, it just doesn't feel the same. I mean, look at the Resident Evil series. That's just, they took zombies out and now it's just crap.
They're back in 6 though.
No, they're not.
I mean, I thought Leon's campaign had zombies in it.
I don't know. I don't care. I've blanked that game from my memory. It doesn't exist.
I'm going to buy it just for shits and gigs because I think it's going to be terrible, but I'll give it a go anyway because I'm not ready to give up on Resident Evil just yet. I'm hoping they'll make a comeback. Like, because I sort of gave up on Silent Hill and then they made Downpour and I was just like, go on, I'll give it a go. I'll cling to hope. And I actually really enjoyed Downpour. So, like, to be fair, that has another good scare. Well, we're just to break off from the topic. Have you gone into the house with the crying woman yet, Kenny?
I've only ever touched the game twice since playing it, so is it near the beginning of the game?
It's when you're all free roaming around the city. I'm not sure if I should ruin
Oh,
it
no
for
then.
you because yeah, I was about to say I won't ruin it for you, but it is one of the very, very creepy moments.
I need to actually finish Downpour. I might let's play it, force myself to finish it at some point in the future.
That mean I can watch your videos and violently masturbate while you play a game? I mean, what? What?
Of course it does.
Sweet.
I mean, there's
Go
a
on.
couple games that there's a couple games that's actually tried to change the mold of a little bit on zombies, like the one I'm LPing for. It's like a lollipop chainsaw. I mean, it's still going around chopping up zombies, but they've done it in a completely colorful, bright, and like happier way than most games.
They are a bit of a laughing stock, but like I said, they can cause panic in the right situations. Like I was playing on DayZ, and basically when I found like when I went into this abandoned city, I was creeping around, and basically like I'd found a gun and I'd shot it, and I didn't realise then until my friend tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "By the way, you're not meant to shoot guns in crowded areas." And literally like zombies came pouring down the street, and instead of my first reaction on any other zombie game would be to try and shoot them, I thought, shit, run, and I was actually having a bit of a panic when there were like, massive hordes of them chasing after me. They're not scary so much as they just induce panic. They're more of an inconvenience, like, but they have their moments. They just have to be in the right sort of circumstances. Unless you're Vaygah, and then you're always going to be scared of zombies. So, has anybody got anything else to add to our wonderful little podcast then?
Yes, I didn't think Shattered Memories was that good.
You motherfucker. Meet me outside, we will have a boxing match.
I challenge you to fisticuffs.
Oh, fisticuffs it is. I liked it. I really enjoyed it, but I only think that's because the psychological read it got on me was pretty much hitting the nail on the head. Like, even down to the point where I had my friends with me in the room watching my psych evaluation, they were just like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It was just like saying all these things, like really nasty things, but they were just like, yeah, that's true. And it's just like, likes to be revered as a genius. And it's like, yeah, can't really deny about that. Like, has intimacy issues. And I was like, wait, that's not true. What? What? No, that can't be right. You've got it wrong. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. But I think it's like that sort of, it's a good step if you would agree on that one. Like, all games should try and incorporate stuff like that that involves the player. Do you not think?
I think it
What
would have
about
been good if it wasn't Silent Hill. Having the psych thingy with Bobby in the game would have been good, but not if it was Silent Hill. I don't like that it was Silent Hill, especially since the game was only 4 hours long.
what about the new Silent Hill? Have y'all played that yet? It's any good? I think it's what it's called, like Book of Shadows or something.
Oh God, no, that's not a horror game. No, that's a top-down multiplayer tactical thingamabobby.
Oh hell no. Not a horror, DK, not a horror.
Apparently it's good, but apparently it's also not.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. I think it would just ruin Silent Hill for me. Like you said, I think it should be one of those things that doesn't class itself as Silent Hill. But I think it was like I don't know. I really like Shattered Memories. I think it was because the issues on it were so sort of real, and I like what it did and how clever it was and how it did it. And I think I appreciate it as a game. It was, to be honest, I wasn't really scared. I was more unnerved. Like I didn't like it made me feel uncomfortable at times. Like the mirror sort of like the couple that you meet later on that like a mirror image of your relationship, like or what the game thinks your relationships are like. It's got moments like that that just make you feel uncomfortable. It makes you feel like the game understands you, and knowing that it understands you, it knows it can fuck with you a little more. And I think it's sort of that unnerving sort of dread in a sense. Not so much scary. I mean, the chase scenes are quite panicking, but nothing more than that, I would imagine.
The only
And
good thing I found from Silent Hill Shattered Memories was the James Sunderland's cameo in the UFO ending.
Yeah, that was funny. Like that he's on couples counselling. I thought that was really good. Go on, DK, you were about to say something?
the one last game that just popped in my head. I mean, it didn't scare me, but like you were just talking about, like it made me a little uncomfortable and unnerving. Was Alan Wake? I don't know why. That one just kind of made me a little creeped out a little.
Yeah, I would never class that as a horror game. It's more like a psychological thriller in a sense. But it does have its moments, I guess, when you first sort of like walking through and you're not really sure of what's going to happen. It does have its moments, but I think when it starts like throwing tractors at you, that it just gets a bit sort of more actiony than opposed to horror. I mean, like all good horror should be about pacing and leaving things to your imagination. Like if I would get more scared than walking down a hallway and a book falls off a table for no reason, than a monster just standing at the end of the hallway running screaming at me. Like, because I always, when you leave it to the imagination of the player, it's going to be a lot more scary because the imagination is your worst enemy in a horror game, because you just imagine all the things that could have knocked that book to the floor. Whereas you see the monster at the end of the hallway and it's sort of everything's just explained. You know, it's like as much as I hate to fanboy over frictional, because everyone seems to do it nowadays. I liked their pacing for the Gatherers, which are the main sort of the droopy lip people from Amnesia, and the build up to see one of them is quite good because you read extracts about these soldiers that are deformed and stuff like that, and they go out to gather, and that's why they've gotten the name the Gatherers. And then you'll see like one just walk round a corner and that'll be it. And you don't really get a good look at it. And the fact that you can never really have a good look at them because the moment you start looking at them, your sanity goes down and the screen starts to blur. So you never really get a good look at the gatherers. And I think that leaves more to the imagination. And that's when I found myself getting really uncomfortable and really scared because I was just like panicking. But and like I said, another hate to fanboy again. But also the suitors in the Justine expansion. There was one that really creeped me out, and I had quite a scary experience with that. And I forgot about that for my like biggest scares. But have you played Justine? Anybody or Kenny? Mostly because you played Amnesia.
I've still not even finished Amnesia, so I haven't played Justine yet.
Well, you've got the suitors, and there's one of them called Alois, I think, and he basically is like this sort of clingy person who's basically just walks around and he's calling out for his like the love of his life, and I was hiding from him in a cupboard, and I didn't hear anything for a while, so I peeked my head out, and his face, and they're blind, so they only react to sound, his face was in my face, and he was just like, he looked at me dead in the face, and asked like, he said something creepy like, "Where are you, my love?" And I was just like, fuck no, 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 no. Well, that is, I think it is all about the pacing, like, I've ranted on about American horror, and which much to Vega's disdain, but it is terrible horror. You're running through people with chainsaws attached to your hands and killing everyone, and that's not horror. Horror is pacing, horror is slow, horror is like filling you full of dread and going for a while without actually having to see a monster is a good example of a horror game. Anybody agree with me while we're on this subject?
The developer of, well, one of the developers of Amnesia anyway, said that um, the longer you look at something, the less scary it becomes. Oh, excuse me. So that sort of contributes to the psychological horror type thing, but it's also situational. It depends on what kind of horror someone's into. Like me and you, we both like our psychological horrors because we don't like going to a cupboard and seeing something put its cock in our eye and going a bloogie woogie woo. But some people like that. They get sort of adrenaline and sexual sensations from that.
Having a cock rammed in your eye. Yeah, like I love the quote as well. I'll leave that subtle quote to itself. Um, and that is, to be fair, that sums it up really well. Like, the fact is that you don't you're gonna get like a cheap scare out of a jump scare, and that's not really gonna be it. You're not gonna be nervous for another jump scare because you'll be expecting it, but it's the slow sort of pacing of it. That's why I've like, as much as I hate to fanboy over the Asians again, they know horror, they know about the slow, they know about the pacing. But I suppose I see your point. Other people like different types of horror. Like, there's always a certain sort of sense of control and stuff like that that you can have in those sort of actiony horror games, whereas when you feel the control's taken away from you, that's what I feel makes a good horror. But I'm not sure. DK, Deagleson, you've not really said much in a while. What do you guys think about like control and stuff in horror? And they're dead. Too spooky.
No, I'm not dead. I'm just like I don't really play that many horror games.
I keep forgetting that you don't play that many horror games.
But
What about movies then?
Movie. I got my share of that.
What sort of pacing, like, would you think that like a slow paced like movie is better than a quick paced one with lots of monsters?
Of course. I mean, if you got one of those fast paced, it's just like basically an action movie, and they call it horror.
Exactly.
It's just shit.
I would say on the thing of video games, because I have played a little bit more horror video games, is yeah, the pacing. I like it to where it like starts off nice and innocent, and you know, like you're just minding your own business, and then like kind of like gradually things start to happen, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere it just comes up and just fills you with like dread, or just like starts like making you feel very uncomfortable then it gets to the point where it just like downright scares the shit out of you.
I think I can rant about quite for hours on this subject because I'm very, very passionate about horror. That's why I've always chosen to do like horror let's plays, because I love the atmosphere and I love everything about horror. It's just one of my it is my favorite genre like of things. So I apologize if I've ranted like a bit too much about that. But yeah, well, because I mean, like, we're trying to include Deagleson here because he's not really much of a horror gamer because he plays Nintendo. He doesn't play grown-up games, do you, Deagleson?
I play real games.
Real kids games. Haha. Nah, I jest. There are a few good Nintendo games. Like, there's a few good games for every console, really. Let's not get into this. So, yeah, I think that'll
I can
conclude
just like
our podcast.
show off my
Okay.
Raptor page, and you will understand what games I play.
Let's pretend like we exist in a parallel universe in which I have no idea what a Raptor page is.
Raptor is... You know what Facebook is, right?
Yes.
Raptor is basically like Facebook, only for games and without the crap like Farmville and
I thought that
stuff.
was what Vaygah.com was like.
Maybe. We don't have any Farmville here, so yeah, it could be right actually.
I think Vaygah.com's better off without Farmville. All right, guys.
Yeah.
I think that concludes our Halloween podcast. And before we all go, I would like to have a very sort of share with you two spooky things, right? For the first Halloween fact is that a skeleton exists within all of us. And do you guys want to know the short... Yeah, I know, that is way too spooky. And do you guys want to know the shortest horror story in the world?
It better be short.
It's very short. The last man on Earth is reading a book in his house when he hears a knock at the door.
Ooh.
That actually works really well. It's really effective as a horror story, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it's the whole leaving
What
it
if
to
it's
the
his
imagination
girlfriend
thing.
outside?
He's the last man
No,
on
he's the
Earth.
last
There's
man.
nobody else besides him.
It could be a female. He's only the
The
last
last
man.
human being. You ruined this story, Deagleson. God damn it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Take it in turns to say your two spooky goodbyes. Deagleson, before I kick your ass.
I'll get escape now.
And DK.
I'm gonna go watch The Exorcist.
Man, that's a shit tier horror movie. Watch the original Grudges in Japanese, because they are spooky as fuck. And Kenny, say something before I whip your ass.
Goodbye, viewers.
And from your lovely master of horror, I bid you all a spooky Halloween. See you later, everyone.